I got the time right here. I got the time right now. Uh-huh. That's right. Time is all I got right here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, here in the internet world, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you tune in to get the real scoop. My name is Don Strong. I am here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I am interviewing Brother David from Brooklyn.
Time, she's my friend. Hello, everyone. This is Brother David from Brooklyn. You have listened to me in the past, I hope, with Brother David from Brooklyn Speaks. And today I'm going to talk to you about the State of the Union and moving beyond. So this is very important to me. We know we have a problem with the State of the Union, with the COVID-19, and the fact that some people are getting poorer and poorer. That's the big problem. So when President Trump says America first, what is he talking about? You know what he's talking about? Himself and the oligarchy that runs the country, the rich and the powerful people who run the country. That's what he's talking about. Make America great again. He doesn't really care about the masses of people that are out there. So that is important. It's like what George Carlin says is a club and you're not in it. That's the masses of the people. So let's move on from there. We know that we hear all this talk about vaccines, and there's nothing said about anything else other than getting a vaccine and taking this vaccine. So the point I'm trying to make is there are prophylactic treatments or protocols that doctors use and have, and they're inexpensive pharmaceuticals that can be used prophylactically to prevent people from getting COVID-19 and also treating it in the early stages. But you don't see anything about this when you look at the media, print media or television or radio. This is kind of frozen out. So if you're a smart consumer, you need to look into the possibility of getting some prophylactic treatment. Consult some progressive type of doctor who might do that for you. Okay, let us move on to something else, and that is the different things we can do or that we need or should be able to do to make life better for most of the people that live in this country. And that's where we should take the State of the Union to a place where it benefits all the people. And I'm going to go over some things. And what I'm going to do is not in any particular order, but things that needs to change. For example, we need to change the way we do elections. There shouldn't be any money allowed in elections. No private money. Elections should be financed with public money, and no ability of those who rule, the oligarchs, to put in huge amounts of money and control the elections. In other words, we're in a situation where they tell you can vote, but who controls the elections and the candidates? It's those at the top. Another thing that we need to do is think about getting public banks. Why can't we have state banks? Why can't we have post office banks? So that's another thing that would benefit most of the people in terms of banking. Public banks and post office banks that already exists in one state for the state bank, That's the state of South Dakota. We need to do another thing. We got this ridiculous drug war, spending billions and billions of dollars to create an infrastructure that is all over the world and chases down people about taking drugs. I'm not recommending everybody take drugs, but the point is, it should not be a situation where we create an infrastructure and a prison system to lock up people for drugs use. People who have trouble with drugs need medical treatment and counseling, and we should handle it that way. That shouldn't be handled by locking people up in prisons. We need to do something else with jobs. We have thousands of people out of work. They ought to be similar to what was available during the Great Depression with the WPA, and this created jobs for thousands of people. So if you don't have a private job, there's always going to be a job for someone. So we need to have a WA program, work power administration, that will provide everyone that's out of a job and wants one a chance to get a job. We need to make changes in the stock market. We need to tax the transactions for the stock market. That could be done. A small tax that would help in terms of financing these things. We need to get to the point where we do away with paid schooling and make all schools free. All schools should be free. We can afford that. We need to move on from there and think about healthcare. There's no reason that we can't have a national healthcare system. A national healthcare system that covers everyone in the country and all our people, and is good in terms of health for physicians and dental health and all kinds of health things, and based on a health system based on prevention and keeping people healthy, not letting people get sick and then treating them, but good health practices, healthy lifestyles, and that's what we ought to be doing. In addition, we have a situation now where they're forcing people to take medication. And by that, I mean people are going to be forced to take vaccines. Nobody should be forced to take medication. So I feel that it should not be legal to force anyone to take any kind of medical treatment that they don't want, including vaccines. Now, the military in the United States spends nearly half the budget. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and so forth. We need to cut that. I think all of that has to do with wanting to, those who rule, want to have an imperial country and ride herd on everybody else. I'd say cut the military spending and have most of the troops that we need for defense in reserve units. Have reserve units rather than active duty military people who spend half the budget in terms of personnel, in terms of equipment, airplanes, tanks, and so forth, and make contractors and manufacturers of those items rich. So that is what I think. In the area of housing, I think housing should be a human right. And we could work out a housing program that would benefit those people who don't decide to have their own ownership of a house, and work out a system based on the income of people for housing. So that should be something that's done. With the legislative branch, I would say that we should have term limits for most offices. People shouldn't have a lifetime in one position in Congress or anywhere else. There should be term limits. And also, those politicians are out there, we got to stop that revolving door method of keeping controls, where politicians get into an administration and leave and go to a corporation, and they may go to a corporation and that's connected where they were administratively responsible for when they were in the government. So that's called a revolving door. We need to stop that. That is important. Also, we're falling behind in infrastructure, bridges, tunnels, railroads. If you look at other countries like China and Japan, they have made all kinds of improvements in their infrastructure, in their railroads. It should be to the point where short trips will not be on airplanes anymore. There are trains that could be faster than getting there on an airplane. So that would mean that you could get on a train and wouldn't go through all the rigmarole you have to go through when you go to the airport. So we need to do something with our infrastructure and our roads and all the things that are important, water system and all things are important for everyone. Okay. Also, the next item, we need to get out of this thing about enemies. The way that the rulers keep this large military budget is by getting people scared and creating enemies. You got to have an enemy. You got to have the Russians. You got to have the Chinese. You have some enemy, and that allows them to put fear in people's heads and go along with taking all this money and wasted it on military expenditures, half the budget of the country. So let's do away with that. Another thing, I think it's very important, as I've learned about places like Spain, where you have the Mondragon system of cooperatives, and so we ought to expand cooperative workplaces and also cooperative living. And this works wonderful because people do not stuff the pockets of executives at corporations. So the people will own the business they're in, and they will own the co-op or condo that they're living in. So a cooperative system would be a wonderful thing, and we ought to look at that. The other thing, Social Security has been pretty good, but it needs to be improved. We need to improve Social Security to the point where it's a full pension system for all citizens, a Social Security system that is a full pension system. And that is what I think would benefit the people. In terms of the work system we have now, I would say that we should look forward to having work so efficient that we can move to a 4-day work week and maybe 28 hours a week. And that's possible. And that would be a wonderful thing for workers, for them to be with their families, do recreation, and have a national system where the basic work week is 4 days and 28 hours. I think also we need to have some other social benefits that benefit people, like family leave policy that's nationwide, that benefits everyone. Daycare for children of parents who work, and elder care, rather than having these lousy nursing homes that are all over the place for profit. A system of public funded nursing homes and daycare at a very small cost. Okay, so there are quite a few things. When it comes to working, I would say that there ought to be a standard vacation of 1 month per year for work. And that would be wonderful for everyone to have some vacation. All right, they can be with their family. And the next thing I would say, we need to get rid of those quote unquote right to work laws. These laws that were slipped in with President Truman's administration. They got where those not right to work laws, those are laws that have to do with crippling unions membership. That's why we have so little union membership in the country. Yeah, I think it's in single digits. So we need to get rid of those right to work laws. We need to have a progressive tax system, and we can have that, where people pay taxes according to their ability to pay, and get rid of the sales tax, which rests heavily on poor people. So those are a couple of things about tax. Okay. In terms of public utilities, we need to do something about changing that to solar, wind, wave, and those are the important ones, and geothermal. In other words, renewable energy. We ought to work on that. There should be part of our infrastructure development, those 4 things that we can do. Those are very important. We also need to think about having real democracy. We're in a situation where the word democracy is used and we don't really have it. We have something called representative democracy, which is not democracy, because you will go and vote for someone, you send them to Congress, and that person doesn't do what you need or want. They do what they want to do, and it's based on the donations that are given to them, or bribes, I'd say, by the rich and powerful. They call them campaign contributions, and we need to put a stop at that. So the point is that that is what we should do. So it's very important that we end a system that we have now, which I call welfare for the rich. Welfare for the rich, because the rich have most of the money, and half the people that live here are poor or near poor, and we got to put a stop to that. And that is the way I see it. So I have given you a few things in terms of moving on to a better time for all the people that live here. And these are some of my suggestions. Those people that don't know me may want to read my book, Brother David, Playing the Game. It's be at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, like bookstores. So I am very glad to talk to you today about that. So the question of what's happening today with President Trump, I've heard he is involved in, some people are saying he should be impeached for his misbehaviors and whatnot. As I see it, as Brother David sees it, I see all these presidents misbehave in some way. Whether you think about President Bush 41, President Bush 43, President Clinton, President Obama. They all do things that are, it's in my view, are not legal. It's not legal, I don't think, to just sit down in your office. For example, one president decide who he's going to kill this week, or who he's going to bomb. And, you know, it's nothing that we should look forward to having someone impeached. And we need to impeach quite a few people if we get involved in impeaching someone for what they said. And that is using your energy poorly. When you do things, you have to decide, is it important enough to use my energy to do it? So that is all I have to today. So looking forward to seeing you in the future. So long for now. Look forward to seeing Brother David from Brooklyn speaks.
This program is produced as a community service as a source of alternative information. Theme song by Don Strong and Danny Fromm, all rights reserved. Please note, the information presented and opinions expressed by Brother David do not necessarily reflect the opinions or imply endorsement by the producers of this program. Thank you for tuning in.